100. Because if they can call it a vaccine, they can A, inject the body with toxins and make them far more potent, and create further health issues.
The CRTC wants all new phones to be compatible with alert readiness by April 2019.
Everybody. It's my first time at the CDC, but I'm sure some of you know me very well. I used to work for Merck, and now I speak out against the dangers that the pharmaceutical companies don't tell you.
Everything the researchers have done is legal, but what they're doing is highly controversial. The embryo is only being allowed to develop for 28 days. It's not allowed to be born. Bioethicists say this research raises a lot of uneasy questions.
The boundaries between what it means to be human and what it means to be non-human can become quite blurred.
We were told that all drugs go through a gold standard process, which is a double-blind, placebo-based, long-term studies. For vaccines, they don't have to go through that process. So what's happening is we're seeing a lot of these vaccines being put onto the market, and our children are test subjects.
I received a phone call from a whistleblower in the intel world I've known for about a year and a half. At a top robotics company in Japan this week, 4 robots being developed for military applications killed 29 humans in the lab.
Why do you want the competition?
The whole point of Tesla is to accelerate the advent of electric vehicles and sustainable transport. We're trying to help the environment. We think it's the most serious problem that humanity faces. I'm not sure if you know, but we open source our patents, so anyone who wants to use our patents can use them for free.
Right now, we're facing a man-made disaster of global scale, our greatest threat in thousands of years.
So I think the fastest we've taken the car thus far is around 110 miles an hour through the tunnel, but that's it's a little scary right now. So probably in your trip you maybe go 40, 50 miles an hour, but this system is designed to do over 150 miles an hour through the tunnel. And,
Nem papel, meu Deus do céu! Cuida desse cara de cair, Senhor!
Oh, Jesus!
Veja.
The first wave of data revealing that children exposed to screens for more than 2 hours a day had lower scores on thinking and on language tests. The children spending 7 hours daily on smartphones and tablets could be changing the structure of their brains.
You can go ahead, I think.
How fast is this?
This is still slow. We're only doing 28.
In the last 2 respiratory virus seasons, the department has managed 350 respiratory virus outbreaks in long-term care facilities, schools, daycare centers, and college dormitories. This outbreak has been extremely challenging to manage for several reasons.
All flights in and out of Gatwick, Britain's second busiest airport, have been suspended after 2 drones were seen flying near the runway. 10,000 passengers have been affected, with many facing long delays. Flights have been diverted as far away as Paris and Amsterdam.
It just stopped and they said, oh, there's a lockdown on the airport. And there we stood for 4 hours.
Got a text from Norwegian Airlines saying that our flight has been cancelled. So we all went downstairs hoping.
These drones are absolutely being operated illegally. We changed the law earlier this year to make it illegal for drones to be flown within a kilometre of the airport.
Heavy rain moves through. It's a narrow band of rain. It won't last long, but all of a sudden, particularly if you're travelling, that will be very unpleasant indeed. Strong, squally winds and some heavy rain too. And of course,
meanwhile, in Mayaka City, a second F0 tornado tore trees apart with 70-mile-per-hour winds.
You never expect it. You just expect it to, be somewhere else. I screamed at my granddaughter, Faith, get in the bathroom.
It was scary. It sounded like a train going by. It was really loud. After, when we went outside, it was a mess. Trees down everywhere. The whole property ruined.
Nos últimos dias, antes mesmo do sol nascer, os moradores de Antonina, no litoral do Paraná, já começam a se preparar para o câmbio. Ontem foi registrada aqui a maior temperatura do estado.
And bam, to the sun it goes.
कभी अष्टावक्र महाराज जी हुए हैं, उनके स्वरूप में लोग इन्हें देखते हैं और आते जाते इन्हें प्रणाम करते हैं।
सब जनता मान सम्मान देती है हमको, हम सबको आशीर्वाद देते हैं और सब जनता पूरी हमारी मदद पूरी करती है।
The world's people have spoken. Their message is clear. Time is running out.
There's research prototypes now, which I assume are being used by intelligence agencies, of very small electronic circuits. Intelligent evil dust scattered everywhere, like confetti in everything. So I think it's increasingly hard for human beings to work out how to deal with that.
Hi guys, this is something I just spotted on the Spanish news. So I was just watching TV. I had taped it because I went to have a shower, come back and watch it. And I'm looking at this reporter and I noticed something about his eyes at the very last minute. Just when he thinks that the broadcast has been completed, we spot something in his eyes. And this is really shocking. I was shocked. I was so happy I taped it because I can go back and pause it and show you. But he blinks and he has a second set of eyes. Here we go. So there it is, the blink. I'm gonna do it in slow-mo now. There we go. It's like he had eyes in between.
Just for the record.
Exactly.
They even post on social media when aliens roam the airport. Since it opened in 1995, America's 5th busiest airport has swirled with conspiracy theories. How the runways make a swastika, and then the murals. Some show peaceful times, some show apocalypse.
About 12 years ago, I received a shock. Basically, I had chronic fatigue syndrome. At that time, the only medical attention I could get was from the VA. The VA told me that because I suffered from PTSD, it was probably all in my mind. Fortunately, I discovered naturopathic doctor, went to him, and he diagnosed me with basically adrenal fatigue. Subsequently, my recuperation allowed me to move around in and out of my house. But bear in mind, while I was in my house, I was constantly on the computer trying to find a way to answer the question of what was happening to my body. All of the symptoms that I was receiving, were they from chronic fatigue or were they from something else? I didn't know. I noticed that as I got better and I started to move in and out of my house, I felt better outside of my house than I did in my house. This subsequently led me to do an experiment because I've been reading and I realized that there were people who were suffering from electromagnetic radiation symptoms. So I decided to start experimenting. And before I'd go to sleep at night, bear in mind I only got 4 hours of sleep average, I started turning the Wi-Fi off. Sure enough, first night I woke up 5.5 hours of sleep. I said, maybe I'm on to something here. And I started reading further and further. And not to get past my 3 minutes, but I was determined and have become aware that this radiation does affect our bodies. And if that's 4G, what's 5G gonna do?
My name is Debbie, and I live in Huntington, New York. I'm a mother of 2 children, 7 and 9 years old, and we recently had a cell repeater, or a cell tower, placed on a utility pole outside of my house, on the right-of-way of the property. It emits radio frequency radiation 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether we like it or not. And it's an eyesore. It's very tall, towers over my backyard. When my kids play, it's what I see in the background. And it looms there. And I wonder, are my kids safe? Are we safe to live in this house now that that has been placed out there? I know I read a lot on the topic recently. Since I've got one, I thought I'd educate myself a bit. It seems to me that children have thinner skulls and still developing immune systems, and they absorb much more radiation than adults will absorb. So they're part of what's called a vulnerable population, along with the elderly, the disabled, the immune compromised.
هذا ما ندري وش يا هو بركان طريق الرياض هذا يا هو بركان يا هو ما ادري وش منفجر من تحت الارض. شوفوا
قبل مسد له وانت طالع نازل فيه.
اي والله هذا شيء اليوم السبت ما فيك